So let's take the second question of what the overall movement looks like. I think the best way to put this out right now is the directory that's in print on the back table came out in 2007. And it lists... Thank you. That's a good sign. I'm sorry that we didn't bring more. In any event, it lists about 840, something like that, in North American intentional communities. The one we're going to print in September, 2 years later, is going to list over 1,400. Now, a lot of those are new ones, and that doesn't mean necessarily stable, but we've never seen in the 22 years that we've been chronicling this and managing this field of information such a large jump. So that's something's going on. And I think partly it's response to economic conditions, but it's more complicated than that. We would say our take on it is there was a wave of interest in intentional communities, and a lot of this, again, is anecdotal, broad strokes. 65 to 75 was a surging time. This is age of love, whatever you want to call it. There was a lot of anarchistic things. I mean, my community in Carolines were started in the tail end of that wave. In 72 in her case, 74 in mine. Harvey's was started in 74. We're all kind of contemporaneous. Then there was a lull.
I was 4 years old. That doesn't count me in the contemporaneous comment.
I was trying to gracefully slide by that. Whatever. From 1975 to 1990, there was a drop in interest. It doesn't mean there was no interest, it just was a lull. It was a decrease. And then, around 1990, things picked up again, and we are still in that wave. There was a plateau, I would say around 2000, where we weren't seeing the increase but we weren't seeing a decrease. It kind of flattened off, and now we've gone up again. So we're still in that wave, and now we're in a second surge of a long wave. 19 years is a long wave, and it doesn't look like it's decreasing, it's increasing right now. Now, what does that mean? You have to keep in mind, let's have a little reality check. The number of people that are currently living in self-identified intentional community of some form represents about 100,000 people. That's our guess. And if you think about a country of 300 million, that's 0.03%. It's tiny. If we double, we're still tiny. Contrast that, say, with Israel, where the kibbutzim is shrinking, but they still represent about 2% of the population. That's way different than 0.03%. That's 100 times as much as a percentage of the population. In Israel, everybody knows about kibbutzim. That's not, I mean, it's just a non-starter. Yeah. In this country, it's like, what? They still exist? I mean, we're basically a blip. We're not even a category on the census forms. However, we think we're very important out of proportion to our numbers because we are the harbingers of cooperative culture. We safeguard it. We are the incubators. We are the laboratories where we work on these issues. What does it actually mean to cooperate? How do you actually do that? And that's relevant not just because there's so many more people are going to live in intentional community, because if you ask the question instead of just anybody on the street, and this is not a random sampling, you ask them, do you have as much community in your life as you'd like? Not intentional community, community. Now you have an audience of 100 million people. Very different than 100,000. And that is something we can speak to. We are important because we are the models for which that 100 million are going to succeed or not succeed in finding the better world they seek. We have the tools and the inspiration to make that happen. And that's our legacy. We bear that proudly. Even though our numbers are small, we're very important to the future. And on that note, we will break for dinner.
Even if we completely lack humility about it.